Palm Cove, Queensland. Welcome back to Sound of Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to another episode of the SuperCoach series. Boys, how are you this week?
I'm pretty good.
Um,
I had one of my better weeks for a while. So 2,395. That was top 8%, and my season rank went up. So that's always a good sign.
yeah, I'm not doing too bad. A decent week overall, but we'll move on.
So you just touched on your score, Zave. I scored 2,337 this week, so you pipped me by about 58. Darce, how'd you score?
I came last out of us three for the first time in probably 6 weeks. So I got 2,310. So it's not actually a terrible score, but there are a lot of big scores this week, so I didn't do as well as others.
And just before we jump into your segment, Zave, it's that point of the year where everyone will either drop off or make a charge for the season rank. And Darce, I think you halved your season rank last week, did you not?
Not last. It was like over a 5 week period,
Okay, yeah.
but yeah, it's going all right so far.
So the surge is still on. Anyways, all yours, Zave. Take it away.
We'll go into the heroes and villains, and we'll switch it up this week. And I think I'll go first. My heroes, two in particular this week. Dane Zorko was absolutely massive. I think he was the highest scorer of the round with 174, and the Bont at 156 was just his regular self being absolutely dominant again.
Yeah, very nice save. I had a few heroes. I had the Bontempelli, Jack Steele, his consistent form, Sam Walsh, almost the same score as Jack Steele, 131, and then Brodie Grundy at 135, and he cut his hair, which was a little unusual. I didn't recognise him at first. I'm not too sure about you boys, but for villains, I'd say Aaron Hall, Isaac Heaney seems to be a consistent theme at the moment. He had 57, and Jake Lloyd, a rare 73 from him.
Yeah, I had a mixed week in terms of heroes and villains. So a common villain of mine who became a hero this week, Bailey Smith, 126. I appreciated that performance, even though his price didn't change a bit. It actually decreased. I had Marcus Bontempelli score well, Zorko, similar to what you guys said. I had another hero is Thomas Highmore, scoring like a premium and allowing me to wait on doing that, upgrading the defense there. In terms of villains, Heaney again. Stewart 58 wasn't helpful. Lloyd 73, and Cripps 65. It's almost, not surprised, but still a little disappointed. And then also my last forward position. So it would have been one of Treacy or Waterman. They both got 34 and 33. So I'll be looking to try to upgrade that last forward position first. But yeah, they were my villains.
Yeah, I didn't actually name my villains, but for this week, it would be the Sydney and Carlton boys. So Jake Lloyd, 73, wasn't great for someone at his price, as well as Isaac Heaney only scored the 57. And then the Carlton boys, Doherty and Cripps, who Doherty's been really good for me all year, but only the 67 this week. And Cripps is 65, as you touched on, Darcy. But I think I dodged a couple of bullets this week. I was going to bring in either Toby Green or Bolton, and Bolton scored really, really poorly. So I dodged that one. And then the Tom Stewart one as well. I don't have him. So I think that saved me a couple of points this week as well.
For sure.
Now, just quickly, what trades did you make last week, if any, at all?
Yeah, I made two trades last week and I traded, just the one trade. I did a downgrade McNeil to Luke Edwards, who I'm sure you boys brought in too, and he didn't look as well as he did the last 2 weeks and is potentially dropped this week. We'll find out tomorrow.
I did out Lockie Jones for Toby Green. I think Toby Green only scored 80 something, but it was looking much worse. I think he had like 17 at half time. So I was really worried, but he kicked a couple of goals in the third quarter and made his score at least pretty good. So that one wasn't horrible. And then I traded out Bo McQuarrie for Luke Edwards as well, who again was poor, but he was on my bench, so it didn't cost me that much.
I actually made no trades last week, so I didn't make the move on Luke Edwards. I figured I summed it up, and I pretty much thought there's no real point at getting Luke Edwards in because I'm not going to eventually trade him out because so I don't really need the cash generation. And I didn't see his job security as well enough that he's going to be permanent bench coverage. So I decided to just hold on to my trades while I still have them.
One of the new ideas that I noticed has been introduced has been bringing in a 102,000 player from any position just to develop another upgrade. Are you boys on the side of that, or are you against that?
I personally think if you have one more in every position, so, except for ruck, obviously. So if you've got 7 defenders, 9 midfielders, and 7 forwards, then I don't really see a problem with bringing in your 8 person or your 9th in the midfield as that 102,000 player. Some people will have started the season with it, whether it be like a Fife or someone else. But I don't think it's the worst decision because, as you said, it's going to help you upgrade. But as long as you do have that little bit of bench coverage, just in case someone does get injured or is laid out, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, very similar. You got to have the bench coverage there if you want to be able to make moves like that. And if you do have that coverage, then that's all fine.
And just quickly, Rory Laird in the midfield, yes or no?
Yep.
I would prefer him not to be in the midfield just because I think there's more midfield options than defensive ones. But so as you're in your complete team, I prefer him being in the defense. But at this stage of the year, it doesn't matter so much if it's just helping you fill out.
The better defenders are a bit cheaper.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
At this point in time, so Rory Laird has actually been scoring pretty well the last few weeks. I know he only got 109 this week, but he was in the 130s the weeks before that. So I don't see him as actually that bad in the midfield. He's scoring 110, which would put him probably top 15 midfielders at the very least, maybe even top 10. So he's not a bad option in the midfield at all. And because the defenders are a bit cheaper at the moment, I'm not against that.
Yeah, I think it's just more so the defender that you bring in. So in my case, it would be like Tom Stewart would be the defender I play instead of Laird. Whereas in the midfield, it would be like a Walsh or even a Nat Fife when he comes back from his injury. So, I think there's more options in the midfield and it's probably a bit safer. But as you said, the defenders are certainly cheaper. So if you can't afford to get to one of the uber premiums, then playing him in the midfield isn't the worst choice.
All right, so this is the perfect segue into the buy, sell, hold, and I've taken a new approach or a different approach. We've gone with some pods this week, but before we get to them, Lockie Bramble, probably the only rookie on the bubble for this week. Is it too late for rookies now, Darce, or do you still attack them?
If you're sitting with like 8 trades left and you've got only 2 upgrades on field, then I don't mind it. But, if you've got a full team or close to a full team, you don't really need to make moves for cash generation. It's more just for bench coverage, and you should have that at this point. And Bramble's not good enough to be saying he's a must-have. If he was getting good scores, 70, 80 plus, then yeah, I'd be keen on him. But if he's not scoring that well, there's no real point making a move for it.
Yeah.
I actually already have Bramble. I bought him in last week during the buys just for a little bit of extra cover. But I think he's probably someone that you could get purely because he's gonna go up a little bit, and he is, as you said, Dylan, 102k rookie. So if you got one of those and they actually play, then I don't think it can do any harm at all.
Yep. The next one is Ollie Wines. He seems to have been a little overshadowed by some midfielders, but he had 500 scores before last week, where he scored 85 in a little bit of an off game, similar to Toby Green.
I think Wines is a great pod, again, similar to the Hearn one we talked about last week, except perhaps a better scorer. So he's got a 3-round average of 115.3 and a 5-round average of 116. So I think he's definitely someone you can bring in and just know that the person in your league isn't going to have him. So he might cost you a few weeks, but he could definitely help as well.
Yeah, same answer.
All right, now the next one, a little bit of foreshadowing possibly. Ben Keys, what do we think of him? With Rory Sloan out for the season now.
I'm probably a hold on Keys just because I think there's, no offense to him, a lot of players in the league and a lot of scorers perhaps that are more proven and better players in general. No offense again, but yeah, I say it most weeks, but the likes of Steele, Lyons, even Wines, as you just spoke of, Oliver, McRae, Bontempelli, I think they're all must-haves and even bigger must-haves than Keys.
Yep.
He wouldn't have been bad as the start of the year option. His low
100%
score has
agree.
only been a 76 or so. And he's had most scores over 100, but he just doesn't quite match up to the best of the best. So, yeah, similar to Xavier.
Would you take Boak over Keys?
I
Yeah.
think I would, just because he's proven a lot more over the last few years, not just this year.
Yeah. Steel Sidebottom, another pod who has been emerging in recent times.
I actually like the side bottom pick. I haven't quite been brave enough to pick him myself, but he's someone that for so long has scored so well. And even this year, he's averaging 92 after starting the year really poorly. And the fact that he's available in the forward line, I think, makes it the good pick. So I think, I honestly think he's a really good pick. And if there's people out there that have a forward spot that they need to bring in, I don't think he's by any means the worst pick.
Yeah, I'd probably prefer to wait for a Dangerfield, but he's not a bad option.
Pertaining to the Pies again, Braden Maynard. He has been on a rampage as of late. His 3-week average is 121.
I think it's another pod. I don't think it's the worst option, but I probably wouldn't bring him in myself.
Chris was a bit of a better option just for the Pies backline. I struggle to particularly in defense, unless there's two really good options, such as a Lloyd and Mills. I prefer to only go for like the top scoring for that team, whereas Maynard's second for the Collingwood team there.
And again, another discussion about Rowan Marshall. We talked about him last week, and he scored 65 on the weekend. He's very cheap. How do you boys see it?
I'm really high on the Marshall pick. I don't think yet he's someone that you should bring in. I'm not actually sure what he did score on the weekend. You might have it in front of you. But, pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, 68, sorry. My bad. 68.
Yeah, 68. So that's not the best score. And he's probably still going to drop a little bit in price. So maybe at the end of the year, once he's a bit fitter, he might be a better pick. But I'd probably steer clear just for the next couple of weeks.
So yeah, the way I see that one, he's got a break even of 162. So we're looking at a price for around 418,000 at round 17. So at that price, you could be a very good pickup. A pretty simple upgrade, downgrade to get to him at only 400K. So I would wait 2 weeks and then wait for its 43 and 68 to be out of the break-even equation, and then I'd be getting him in if he does prove he can score well.
Yeah, 100% agree.
You'd take Paddy Dangerfield over him at the moment?
Not at that price.
At the moment, I would.
Okay.
Or for this week, at least. Not one of these 418K, but if you need a forward this week, I would bring in Dangerfield before Marshall.
Yeah, I'm similar. I'd be this week only. I'd be getting Dangerfield over him, but come round 17, 18, I'd be preferring probably Marshall unless Danger goes crazy with his scoring.
The final man is from Adelaide, and his name is Paul Seedsman. 3-round average of 118. He's not mentioned very often, but he has a 3-round average of 118 at the moment.
I definitely wouldn't get Seedsman. Nothing against him, but because he's a midfielder only, I just don't think that he can really compete. Again, I talked about those midfielders that are just better than everyone else. So I don't think he really comes close to those really, really elite midfielders, and that's not a knock on him at all.
Yeah, again, he would have been a decent pickup at the start of the year, but at this point in time, I'm just not too keen on him.
Yeah, as I said, just pods this week. Any others you want to mention?
No, I think you covered most of the ones that I had.
Would you be selling Cripps at any point?
I think, in my opinion, it's too late to do that. I think we have to cut our losses and just accept that he's not going to score 100 every week, and we're going to expect more like 85s from him. Like, he's already dropped 77K in price from the start of the year, and to find someone else at 450K is probably not really going to be that open.
Even if you got 8 trades left and 100K sitting in the salary where you can just do a quick upgrade?
If you had 8K left, 8 trades left, maybe. Depends who can you get for him instead. If it was the case of trading from him to like a Tom Mitchell, then maybe it's something you want to consider. But I still think you need to complete your team before you get rid of him. It's similar to the Giants situation that Dylan found himself in a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, you could go I think you could go just about to like a Boak. Walsh is probably a bit out of the price range now. You could, there's a couple options there that you could make it to that would be worth it if you could, I think.
In a similar mold to that question that Darcy had, would you guys be holding or selling Isaac Heaney?
I'm going to hold him. He's too cheap for a star player. You know he'll produce a good score soon. And I know we've said that the last 2 weeks, but I think it's his time very, very soon, Xav.
Yeah, I think if I'm not going to say too much, but pretty much all of the same things I said for Cripps, I'll say for Heaney.
Yeah, the only real move with Heaney at the moment for me has just been to make sure I put him in bold and underline in my never again list to make sure I don't ignore him this time.
Yeah. All right, on to your segment, Darce.
No worries. So just typical of the last couple of weeks, there's been a few lessons to be learned. I'd like to hear what yours was this week.
I'm going to take more of a year approach, and I know you boys will probably give me a smirk as soon as I say this, but there's no need for wasting trades.
This guy. I thought it was going to be something about Dustin Martin, and it was just
technically it was
a little bit about it.
Technically, you just admitted
3, 4, 5 unnecessary trades I've done this year, which was probably expected considering it was my first year in a couple of years. But come on,
yeah. So if this is the first episode you've watched, against all of our advice, Dylan decided to trade out Dustin Martin, despite everyone knowing he was going to be a top 6 forward. And then I think he didn't have him for 1, maybe 2 weeks, and then immediately traded him back in. So
it was 3 weeks, and I brought in Mills Walsh, but still, there was no need to trade him. It would benefit me now if I still had the trades. But as I said, that's the lesson I've learned, and I'll take it into next year. So,
yeah, I do think if you looked up Dylan's lesson in the dictionary of not wasting trades, it would come up with like a picture of Dylan trading out Dustin Martin and a big cross through it. So I think that's definitely something you should avoid. Don't trade out someone that's definitely going to be in the top spots of their position.
And just before
my lesson.
Just before we do, some people traded out Zeeble a couple of weeks ago, so I don't think that's the footprint.
That's probably even worse.
That was my lesson last week.
Not to trade out Zeeble.
Yeah, I didn't trade him out, but I was saying the lesson is to stick with the best scoring players.
Yeah. My one's, I'm not sure, but if I had to pick one, it's probably not to overreact to, or not to undertrust your captain option. So for me, I had Jared Lyons as my vice captain, and he scored 119, which is below what Bontempelli scored. But I decided I'd take that. I put Finlay McRae on field over Coleman Jones. So that cost me like 10 points in itself. And then my captaincy was on Bontempelli, who scored 156. So I lost another 35 points there.
I don't mind that though, Xav. I always think 120 plus, you have to take it because there's been 3 instances. I took Steele's 126 last week and then Steele's 132 this week. And I know a few weeks ago there was the Grundy injury, and then a couple of weeks before that there was another injury. So I think you've just got to go with your gut of 120 plus.
I think like the reason I did it is because I've been burnt by it so many times this year. Yeah. I think probably the 3 times I've gone with the captain, I can't remember. I think I got like a 130 from Gorn, but then I got his 66 that he pulled out from somewhere. And then I had like a 97 from Jake Lloyd at the start of the year. So most of my options haven't been that good.
My lesson learned is I've always had the rule of only trade players in on the bubble, and I went against that rule with both Bianco and Newcomb, and since then they both scored quite poorly and haven't generated as much cash as what they were looking like they were going to do. So my lesson is to stick with that and to just bring them in once they're on the bubble, once they've got at least 2 good scores behind them, or they look like they're going to be making good cash generation, rather than to be let down by these 2 rookies that I've gone against my usual rules to get in this year.
I have both of those players, and I don't really feel that let down by them, to be honest, just because I didn't really have that high expectations for either of them. Maybe a little higher for Bianco, but at this time of year, you're not really expecting a rookie to come in and score like 80. So the fact that they've kept their spot this far, I think, has been probably a win.
Just quickly, I'm expecting either a top score or a flop score from Callum Coleman-Jones. Tom Lynch is back in the side this week, and whether or not Coleman-Jones will be the primary ruckman, I'd probably say no, considering Chol is listed as the ruckman and Coleman-Jones is the 4th man on the interchange bench as it sits now. So either a big score if he takes the ruck duties, or maybe even like a 40-50 in my opinion.
Yeah, with him, we're still looking at a decently low break even.
Oh yeah.
So he's still got an 18 break even, so I wouldn't be moving him on this week, regardless of what position you think he's going to play or whatever. He should score around 40 at least, which provides a bit of cash generation. And then if it is that low of a score, then I'd be looking to move him next week while he's at his peak price.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into the trades and captaincy options that you boys have for this week. I think we'll start with you, Darce.
So I'm sort of looking at another no trade week. I have Treacy and Waterman as my 6th and 7th forward, and I've also got Highmore as my 6th defender. So I think I'm pretty happy with Highmore there for the time being, considering his last 2 rounds. But with Waterman and Treacy, I might have to just wait 1 more week of cash generation to then do an upgrade. Or I might even wait 2 weeks and then try to get Rowan Marshall in when he's there. But at the moment, I cannot get much for the price I get by upgrading and downgrading them. So I think I could be a no trade week. And then in terms of captaincy, I think I'll just be looking at a Gawn and Bontempelli. Gawn into Bont.
I think Highmore is an absolute villain for me. I traded him out at 186k, and now he's going to make 300k easily. And now it's in a time where I really need the cash generation as well. So that doesn't help at all. But we'll go to you, Dylan.
That has to be one of the biggest turnarounds in SuperCoach rookie history.
Handed the curse over to you.
Yeah. Exactly. So I've traded out Cody Waitman, and James Madden so far, and I brought in Kieran Briggs, who still has like a negative 57 break even off the top of my head, and Ben Keys. I thought, why not try out a pod like Ben Keys? I know you boys probably aren't the biggest fan of it, but Sloane's out with a finger injury, and last time Sloane was out, Keys had a 150, a 110, and another 100 as well. Thoughts?
That's an interesting one. The Keys one in particular, after I...
Do you have Boak in your side?
Sorry?
Do you have Boak in your side?
No, I don't.
Boak's price is 517k.
I
do, but Boak has not been as good as Keys this year.
He definitely has. He definitely scored 124 on the weekend.
Oh, I know. But Keys scored 134 on the weekend. Yeah.
Well, Keys has an average of 102.7. Travis Boak 107.8. So 5 points higher.
A bit, doesn't it?
5 points higher for 5k lower.
Xavier. We need content for Lesson Learned next week. Let him make this mistake.
Yeah. All right. My trades, they will almost certainly change by tomorrow. But at the moment, I have Bergman and Coleman-Jones leaving my team, who both, as Darcy touched on a little bit before, have a pretty low break even, in particular Bergman at -6. So they both have money to make, but they're just about my only 2 rookies that have some decent price on them. And I really want to get to Dangerfield this week to try and bolster my forward line a little bit at 400.
I reckon you can wait. I reckon you can definitely wait a week or 2 on Dangerfield. His break even is pretty high.
Same with Bergman. Bergman's in prime form at the moment.
Yeah, I'd definitely wait a week on that trade. You can still get a bit more money from the both of them. and you can also get more money from a decrease in Dangerfield, and there might be a better rookie come along.
The thing is also that one of Dangerfield or Common Jones will be on my field. Not Dangerfield, so Bergman or Common Jones will be on my field if I don't trade in Dangerfield, which I'm
Bergman
not.
hasn't scored poorly.
No, not over the last 2 weeks. He's got a 74, 65, 74 and 115. But the 2 weeks before that, even 3 weeks, were 64, 14 and 53. So I'm not that
Can you do the
confident.
loophole with them? Can you do like the emergency loophole with them?
Only if I keep Common Jones as well.
Yeah, keep the both of them, I reckon. I reckon just keep the both of them and then do the loophole. Who's your 8th forward?
It'll be one of Bergman or Common Jones if I keep both.
Your 8th forward?
Or my 8th, it's Finlay McRae, so not very relevant. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so,
yeah,
no,
I could
so you'll be able to do
yeah.
you'll be able to do the loophole thing. So just have Common Jones as your emergency, and then if he scores well, chuck your non-playing player on field for.
That is what I did this week with I took Common Jones 67 and then Bergman scored 74, so it cost me a little bit of points, but
100%, I reckon you wait an extra week on that trade. You can make an extra 60, 70K out of that.
over 1 week, you think?
Well, Dangerfield could drop.
Yeah, maybe.
Dangerfield could score 40, get injured, and he hasn't even scored that well yet. He's only scored two over the 90s last 2 weeks. So wait.
Just with the Boak situation, Darce, it's very similar to your Heaney situation. I had Boak a few years ago and he let me down and I said never again. So I know it's different, but we'll see.
I'll respect the never again list. If he's on your never again list, you can go with that.
I don't really respect it. I think Boak is a far superior option to Keys.
I know. Boak
Over the last couple of weeks, he's been
ownership.
Wait, Xavier, I'm fighting for a top 8 spot at the moment, mate.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Still Dylan's spot. Where is Dylan in our league? I'll just check
I'm
quickly.
third or fourth. Tied third, I believe.
Although, Darcy, you probably won't get a win this week given you're versing the old Xavier.
Yeah.
5-0 last 5 rounds. He's won 9 of his last 11. Pretty good team right there.
Yeah, so I'm
I need to
tied.
win pretty much every game. Xavier, can you tank this week?
No, I still got to try and finish first.
I need to win every game to make it. Oh.
I think the person on top of our league, I think he must have lost this week after starting 12-0. So
Yeah, you lost on the ladder.
and I'm yet to verse him as well. So if I beat him, I'll go past him. So I can't tank. Sorry, Darcy.
Hard to beat though. He will be. No, I don't know. I might stick to it just because it's a bit of fun at the end of the season.
A bit of fun until it blows up in your face and he scores a 60.
He hasn't scored a 60 this year though. Funnily enough.
Clip that.
Yeah. His last score 76, which was a while ago. But we'll see.
I don't think he's a horrible option, but I think there's a lot of better players, in particular in the midfield.
Yeah. Well, I had 538K, I think.
Which is enough to get Travis Boak.
It is. But he's on my never again. I might go against it. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll send it to the chat tomorrow. Anything else you want to say, boys?
Nothing else from me.
All right. Well, I'm sure one of you will be happy and one of you will be unhappy next week after your clash. But good luck. I've got, I don't know, Darce is stepping up at the moment. His team looks to improve by the week. So, I'll have Darce as a hot favourite for this week. And
Hot favourite? No, you can't have a hot favourite. You can have a smoky pick. I'm not favourite.
A smoky pick. He's on
Going in $2.50. $2.50 for the win, I think.
Darcy's 3-2 in his last 5.
All right, that's all for this week. We've got a growing rivalry between the two of you two, but we hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow at AFL SuperCoach, at sts.podcast, and at Footy Beanies. That's the new Collie Wobbles one, which I like. But that's all for this week, and we'll see you next week.